Seoul never truly slept. At 1:17 a.m. the city still breathed in neon. Rainwater shimmered across Gangnam streets like liquid glass, while luxury cars crawled bumper to bumper beneath skyscrapers glowing blue and gold against the night sky. The air smelled like rain and money and the particular restlessness of a city that had never learned how to stop. Kang Min-jun, 33, sat with one hand draped lazily across the steering wheel, tie loosened, jaw tight with the particular irritation of a man who had everything and found it insufficient. CEO. Billionaire. The golden face of South Korea's luxury real estate empire, and completely painfully bored. The traffic light ahead stayed red. His dashboard screen flashed with a notification. Another woman, another model, another invitation to another after-party he already knew would end with fake laughter and expensive wine and nothing he would remember tomorrow. He muted the phone, then he heard it, a motorcycle engine. Deep, aggressive, beautiful. The sound moved through traffic like a predator through darkness, purposeful, unhurried, inevitable. Heads turned in cars on either side. The bike emerged between rows of luxury vehicles with impossible precision. Black Ducati Panigale V4, custom matte finish, murderously elegant. And the rider, Min-jun glanced sideways, then forgot how to breathe. Dark skin glowed beneath Seoul's neon lights like polished mahogany dipped in gold. All black leather hugged her body like it had been painted onto her. Long legs, curved waist, power in every movement. She planted one boot against the wet pavement and the city rearranged itself around her presence without realizing it. She lifted her visor slowly. Sharp cheekbones, full lips. Eyes so dark and direct they could only be described as dangerous. Not pretty. Dangerous. When she looked at him, truly looked at him, something cold moved down his spine. Not fear, recognition. Like his body understood before his brain did. Trouble. Amara, glancing at his car, accent carrying traces of East Africa, Aston Martin pretty. Min-jun, smirking automatically, pretty? That hurts my feelings a little. Amara, should I call it cute instead? A laugh escaped him, genuine, which was rarer than anyone outside his circle knew. Most women responded to his money with excitement or performance. This one looked mildly amused by it, the way someone looks at something they've seen too many times to find impressive anymore. Min-jun, you always insult strangers at traffic lights. Amara, only rich men who stare too hard. Min-jun, you noticed I was staring. Amara, you weren't subtle. Rain intensified softly around them. He leaned slightly toward his window, something loosening in his chest for the first time in months. Min-jun, and if I told you you're the most beautiful woman I've seen all year? Her eyes moved over him. Expensive watch, perfect suit, movie star face. The kind of man women melted for at 12-foot distances. Her expression never changed. Amara, I'd say beautiful things become less impressive when rich men repeat the same lines to everyone. That hit harder than it should have, Min-jun. You think I'm predictable. Amara, I think you're used to getting everything easily. Min-jun, and you? She tilted her head slightly. Something shifted behind her eyes. Not softness, but the faintest acknowledgement that this conversation was more interesting than expected. Amara, I'm the lesson men like you usually survive too late. The traffic light turned green. Cars began moving. Min-jun barely registered it. Min-jun, quickly. What's your name? Amara, you flirt with strangers often. Min-jun, only the unforgettable ones. For the first time, her lips curved. Not a smile. Something more dangerous than a smile. Amara, you should stay away from me, pretty boy. Min-jun, why? Amara, because curiosity kills richer men than you every day. She dropped her visor, revved the engine, and disappeared into Seoul traffic like smoke, leaving only rain, engine echoes, and the ghost of expensive perfume drifting through his car. Min-jun sat frozen while horns exploded behind him. For the first time in years, something inside him felt awake, and deep in his chest, instinct whispered, you just made the worst decision of your life. 3 days later, he still couldn't stop thinking about her. It was becoming embarrassing. Kang Min-jun built billion-dollar developments across Asia, and negotiated with politicians. Destroyed competitors without losing sleep. Yet somehow a woman on a motorcycle had reduced him to checking traffic camera footage at 2 a.m. Like a man who had lost both his mind and his dignity simultaneously. Ja-chun across the boardroom table, observing, you're smiling at your coffee. That's mentally concerning. Min-jun, focus. Jiayan, you approved a $20 million expansion without reading page 6. Min-jun, I read it. Jiayan, you absolutely did not. The boardroom overlooked the Han River through floor-to-ceiling windows, luxury, power, prestige, everything Min-jun spent years building. And somehow none of it felt interesting anymore because every thought circled back to her, those eyes. That voice. The way she looked at his car like it was mildly cute. A secretary entered quickly. Secretary, sir, tonight's charity gala. All international guests confirmed. Minjun pausing. Any African trade representatives? Secretary several, sir. Diplomats and investors from across the continent. Something tightened in his chest. He said nothing. The Imperial Crown Hotel glittered like heaven built for billionaires. Crystal chandeliers. Classical orchestra threading between the conversations of politicians laughing into champagne worth thousands per glass. Women in designer gowns. Men wearing enough wealth to feed cities. Minjun adjusted the cuffs of his charcoal Tom Ford tuxedo while cameras exploded around him. Usually he owned rooms like this effortlessly, worked them like instruments. Tonight he scanned every corner like a man searching for something specific. Jae-hyun beside him murmuring, "You look nervous." "Minjun, I'm not nervous. Jae-hyun, you've checked the entrance 6 times. Minjun said nothing. Then the ballroom shifted, not loudly, quietly, like the air itself noticed something entering. Conversations slowed. Heads turned, not with the forced attention given to celebrities, but with the involuntary response to something that carried genuine authority. She walked in. Amara wore a dark emerald gown that wrapped her body like liquid precision, elegant, deadly. A slit revealed one long leg as she moved through the ballroom with calm, absolute confidence. Diamond earrings flashed beneath chandelier light. Natural curls framed her face. But it was her energy that rearranged the room, not socialite power, not influencer attention. Real power, the kind dangerous people carried naturally, that made rooms organize themselves differently without being asked. Minjun noticed something else: security. 4 women in black dresses positioned subtly around her, eyes never stopping, never visible as guards unless you already knew what to look for. Professional, expensive, the real kind. She glanced across the ballroom, found him instantly, as if she had already located him before she walked in, and smiled. Minjun crossed the room before common sense could stop him. She met him halfway. "Amara, softly, pretty boy. You clean up nicely. Minjun, you came. Amara, I never said I wouldn't." Up close, she smelled like expensive perfume and something that didn't have a clean name. He lowered his voice. "Minjun, you disappeared. Amara, and yet you kept looking for me. Minjun, you noticed?" "Amara, I notice everything." Her gaze moved lazily across the ballroom. As Minjun watched, politicians greeted her with visible respect. Businessmen moved carefully around her. Even the hotel's head of security tracked her movement with recognition rather than suspicion. Who the hell was she? Minjun extending his hand, Kang Minjun. She stared at his hand for one deliberate second before taking it. Electricity moved through him. Warm skin, controlled strength, a handshake that told him everything about how she occupied space in the world. "Amara, Amara." "Minjun, just Amara?" "Amara for now." "Minjun, you enjoy mystery too much. Amara, mystery keeps people alive." An older Korean businessman appeared at her elbow, nervous in the way of men not accustomed to being nervous. "Businessman, respectfully, Miss Amara." The shipment issue was resolved. Amara not looking at him. "Good." "Businessman, we deeply apologize for the misunderstanding. Amara, don't let it happen again." The man bowed actually bowed, then left quickly. Minjun blinked. "Minjun, what exactly do you do?" Amara, sipping champagne, import and export. "Minjun, that sounds fake." Amara, it's vague. "Different thing." "Minjun, you have bodyguards." Amara, you don't." "Minjun, I'm a real estate developer, not a dictator." One of her guards leaned close, whispering something. Amara listened without changing expression, nodded once, then looked back at him. "Amara, you flirt too confidently for someone who doesn't know who he's talking to." "Minjun, maybe I like dangerous women." Amara, correcting him softly. "No, you like excitement because your life became too easy." The accuracy of it irritated him. He was quiet for a moment. "Minjun, maybe." "Amara, you've never truly risked anything." "Minjun, I built my empire from nothing." "Amara, you inherited 80% of it." "Damn." Minjun studied her carefully now. She knew him. Not just his name, his history, his actual history. "Minjun, who are you really?" Amara smiled faintly, then leaned close enough that her lips brushed his ear. Her voice dropped to something quiet and precise. Amara whispering, "You flirted with the wrong woman, Minjun." His pulse exploded. "Minjun sounds like a threat." "Amara, it's a warning." Minjun, same difference. Amara pulling back, looking at him directly. "No, one comes from hate." Her eyes locked onto his. "Amara, the other comes from concern." Then she stepped away. Disappeared back into the crowd, leaving him completely ruined. 5:42 a.m. The black SUVs arrived before sunrise. 10 of them, perfect formation, silent engines, tinted windows. They surrounded Kang Minjun's mansion with the quiet discipline of organized military movement. Unhurried, deliberate, communicating through their precision alone that whoever sent them was not afraid of anything the morning might bring. Minjun stared at the security monitors in his study, pulse cold. Security chief behind him, "Urgent, sir. This is organized military movement. These people are professionals." Minjun, how long until police? Security chief, 15 minutes minimum. The mansion had locked down automatically. 15 minutes felt like a geological era. Then one SUV door opened, and Amara stepped out. Black leather jacket, dark sunglasses, hair pulled into a high ponytail. Beautiful and absolutely terrifying. Behind her, women exited the other vehicles with disciplined precision, no visible weapons, which somehow made them scarier, not less. Amara removed her sunglasses slowly, looked directly at the security camera, and smiled. Security chief, quietly, she's here for you. Minjun, no kidding. He walked outside before logic could intervene. Morning air hit cold against his skin. Amara crossed the driveway calmly and stopped 3 feet away. Precisely 3, he noticed. Always exactly 3. Amara, good morning, pretty boy. Minjun, what the hell is this? Amara, gesturing toward the convoy casually. You wanted my attention, now you have all of it. Minjun, you brought an army to my house. Amara, you think too small. Minjun, that's not comforting. Amara, a faint smile. Relax. If I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be talking. Not remotely comforting either. Minjun folded his arms and looked at her. In the pale morning light, without the gala chandelier or neon soul, she was somehow more striking, more real, more complex, carrying something that looked a lot like conflict beneath the control. Minjun, who are you? Amara, I told you, Amara. Minjun, that's not an answer. She stepped closer. Every instinct he had became hyper-aware. Amara, quietly, this is your last chance to walk away. Go back inside. Forget me. Return to your safe, beautiful life. Minjun, and if I don't? Something vulnerable flickered across her face, there and gone, but he caught it. Amara, then your life changes forever. Silence. The morning held them in it. Common sense screamed at him to end this immediately, to go inside, to be the rational man he was professionally. Minjun, coffee? Amara blinked once, completely derailed. Amara, you're inviting me inside. After this, Minjun, you did show up with a private militia before breakfast. Amara, that wasn't a threat. Minjun, what was it? Amara, a demonstration. Minjun of. Amara, quietly. How serious I become about things I care about. That sentence landed somewhere unexpected. She stepped aside. Amara studied him for a long moment. Amara, you're either brave or stupid. Minjun, probably both. Amara, softly, yes, probably. Then she walked inside his house. And nothing in Kang Minjun's life would ever be normal again. His kitchen felt too small for her presence. Morning light spilled across marble countertops while Amara sat at the island, with the ease of someone who had learned to be comfortable in unfamiliar rooms out of necessity rather than invitation. Minjun made coffee mostly to give himself somewhere to look that wasn't her. Minjun, what exactly are you? Amara, direct. Minjun, you invaded my property with 10 SUVs. Amara, fair point. She accepted the coffee, held it in both hands, looked at it for a moment. Amara, thank you. Minjun, you're welcome. Now answer me. She was quiet. He had the sense of watching someone decide how much of a door to open. Amara, finally, there are networks in this world that exist outside governments, outside law, outside the systems powerful men use in public while pretending don't exist in private. Minjun, illegal networks. Amara, sometimes, not always. The line is not as clean as you need it to be. Minjun, your Mafia. Amara, calmly. No, the Mafia works for profit. Minjun, and you, Amara, I work for survival. For the people who built what I run. For the communities that depend on the structures I maintain. The room became very quiet. Minjun looked at her. This woman who sat in his kitchen drinking coffee and talking about the underbelly of the world with the same composure she gave everything else. She didn't look like a criminal. She looked refined, controlled, elegant. But beneath that calm beauty, violence existed. Not chaotic violence, disciplined violence. The terrifying kind that knew exactly when and how much was necessary. Minjun, you should be terrifying me right now. Amara, yes. Minjun, but you're not. Amara, I noticed. Minjun, why? A long pause. He watched something move behind her eyes. Honest, unguarded, quickly controlled. Minjun, quietly, why are you really here, Amara? She looked at her coffee, then at him. Then, Amara, barely, because I couldn't stop thinking about you either. The confession hit like a physical thing. She looked furious with herself for saying it, jaw tightening, eyes hardening immediately, rebuilding walls that had slipped for 3 words. Amara, muttering, you should hate this. Minjun, hate what? Amara, the way you look at me. Minjun, how do I look at you? Amara, very quiet, like I'm a woman instead of a weapon. Something inside him shattered quietly. He moved toward her slowly, slow enough for her to stop him if she needed to. She didn't. His fingers touched her jaw softly. Warm skin, a faint, involuntary tremor. For the first time since meeting her, Amara looked afraid. Not of him, of what this was becoming. Amara whispered, you're dangerous too. Then Minjun kissed her, and the world disappeared. It wasn't gentle. Weeks of tension exploded at once. She grabbed his shirt hard enough to wrinkle designer fabric while his hands buried into her curls. She tasted like coffee and every terrible decision wrapped inside perfection. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Amara, against his lips, "This is a disaster. Minjun, probably." "Amara, you should walk away." "Minjun, no." "Amara, you don't even know me." "Minjun, then tell me." Pain flickered across her eyes, old pain, deep. Amara whispered, "You don't understand what loving someone like me costs." The word loving hung between them, neither acknowledged it. Instead, Minjun kissed her again. And Amara kissed him back like she already knew this would destroy them both. 3 weeks later, Kang Minjun illegally accessed port shipping records for her. He noted this fact without particular alarm, which told him everything he needed to know about how lost he already was. The warehouse smelled like metal and rain. Minjun stood beside Amara while her team worked methodically through shipping containers. In 3 weeks, he had learned to read her modes the way you learned a language through immersion. This was her operational mode: cold, focused, lethal. The warmth she allowed in private completely absent. Amara, quietly, examining a manifest. "This shipment wasn't authorized." "Minjun, that's bad." "Amara, someone is using my routes without clearance. Moving military-grade weapons through my infrastructure." "Minjun and Amara, flat people die when rules break in my world." Minjun was quiet. This wasn't fantasy. This was real. Cold floors, real weapons, real stakes. And the woman he had been building something with for 3 weeks was entirely at home in it. He found, examining himself honestly, that he was still here. Amara, turning sharply. "You stay in the car tonight." "Minjun, I'm not leaving you alone." "Amara, that wasn't a request." "Minjun, too bad." Frustration crossed her face. Then something beneath the frustration. Fear. Real, undisguised fear, not for herself. Quietly, "You don't understand what happens if something goes wrong here." "Minjun, then let me stand beside you." "Amara, you're not built for this world." "Minjun, maybe not." He stepped toward her. "Minjun, but I'm built for you." That expression again, the one that looked almost painful, like she was being given something she had decided she couldn't afford. Amara kissed him suddenly, hard, desperate, with the specific quality of someone who wasn't sure there would be an after. Amara, against his mouth, "Don't make me regret caring about you." Then chaos erupted. Act 2, the ambush gunfire shattered through the warehouse from 3 directions simultaneously. Men appeared from darkness, organized, positioned, prepared. This had been anticipated. Amara's team moved instantly, professional, precise. The kind of violent efficiency that came from years of training, and Minjun, processing it all in compressed milliseconds, understood that he was watching a response to a trap that had been set long before tonight. He barely registered movement before someone slammed him backward against a shipping container, a gun pressed hard against his skull. Cold voice well. This became interesting. Hwang Daejin, 55, stepped into the light wearing an expensive suit and a smile full of poison. A man of his 50s who had spent those decades building wealth through methods that left no public trace. Amara froze, not with fear, with the particular stillness of controlled rage. "Amara," Lo Hwang Daejun. Hwang amused Amara. "You brought a billionaire playboy into business matters. I'm almost disappointed." "Amara, he's not involved." "Hwang, he's here. That makes him involved." The gun pressed harder against Minjun's temple. Adrenaline flooded him. He kept his breathing controlled and watched Amara with complete focus. Hwang to Minjun slowly, "You flirted with the wrong woman, Mr. Kang." Amara's eyes became terrifyingly still. "Amara, let him go." "Hwang or what?" The warehouse went quiet. Then Amara smiled, and Minjun finally understood fully and completely why people in this world feared her, because her calmness was inhuman. Not the calmness of someone who had nothing to lose. The calmness of someone who had already accounted for every variable in the room. Amara softly, "You think because I came emotionally compromised, I came unprepared." Hwang's smile faded. "Amara, that was your mistake." The warehouse roof detonated flashbangs, smoke Amara's operatives flooding from above. 90 seconds of chaos, gunfire, professional violence moving through the space with terrible efficiency. 90 seconds later, it was over. Hwang knelt bleeding on concrete. Amara's gun pressed calmly against his forehead. Amara whispering next time, "Don't touch what belongs to me." Minjun's heart nearly stopped. "Belong?" Weak, laughing. "You fell in love. That's your weakness now." Amara's jaw tightened fractionally. Amara, very quiet, "Yes, it is." She knocked him unconscious, then turned immediately to Minjun. The second she reached him, she slapped him hard across the face. Amara, voice cracking, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Minjun, stunned, "I'm fine." Amara, "You had a gun to your head." Minjun, "So did your people." Amara, "That is different." Minjun, "How?" Amara, her voice breaking open, "Because I'm used to this. Because I can survive losing soldiers. I have lost soldiers, but I cannot." She stopped. Tears filled her eyes. Actual tears. and the sight of them was more devastating than everything in the last 90 seconds combined. "Amara," whispered shakily, "I cannot survive losing you." Minjin pulled her against him without a word. She shook in his arms, the feared woman, the one people whispered about across 3 continents, the terrifying queen of structures that operated outside governments. Shaking against his chest because she almost lost him. "Minjin, softly, I'm here." "Amara, absolute idiot." "Minjin, I know." "Amara, you complete." "Minjin, I know." Then she kissed him like she needed proof, like verification, like the only way to believe he was still alive was to feel it. And Minjin held her like he finally understood what it meant to have something worth holding. The scandal arrived the way catastrophes do in the age of anonymous reports, everywhere simultaneously, with the specific momentum of a story that had been waiting for its moment. Port investigations, whispers of organized crime involvement, his name beside hers in publications that didn't usually cover real estate, investors calling before 8 a.m., politicians who had taken his calls in 30 seconds suddenly unavailable. And still, sitting in his office looking at Seoul through floor-to-soiling windows, Minjin could not make himself regret her, not even slightly. Jaehyun quietly beside him. "You're going to lose everything." "Minjin, no." "Jaehyun, Minjin, I'm finally figuring out what actually matters." Jaehyun looked at him for a long moment, then sat down slowly like a man deciding to stay alongside someone jumping off a bridge. The board meeting was war. Older executives circled, voices overlapped. "Director Lee, you've embarrassed this company. Director Park, you've endangered 15 years of reputation. Director Choi, who is this woman? What are the criminal allegations? Are they true?" Minjin sat through all of it calmly, let them exhaust themselves, then stood slowly. "Minjin, I'm taking temporary leave as CEO." Complete silence. Shock spreading through the room like ink through water. Director Lee standing. "You're stepping down? Because of a woman?" Minjin almost smiled. "No, not because of a woman. Because for the first time in his adult life, he wanted something more than power. Something that couldn't be measured in square footage or stock prices, or the number of people who answered his calls inside the first ring. "Minjin, I'm stepping down because I'm tired of pretending that money matters more than being alive. Genuinely alive. I'll return when I've figured out what that means." The room exploded. Arguments, threats, disbelief. Jaehyun sat quietly in the corner with an expression that was half devastated and half, underneath it, buried, something that looked like respect. Minjin no longer cared about any of it, because somewhere beyond those walls Amara existed. And somehow, and he had examined this from every angle, turned it over, looked at it in the light of every rational argument against it, that mattered more than every skyscraper he owned. She was waiting outside, beside her motorcycle, black leather, dark curls moving in the wind, beautiful in the particular way of things that don't require permission to be what they are. He walked out into the afternoon light and she straightened when she saw his face. "Amara," reading him immediately. "How bad?" "Minjin, I stepped down temporarily." Her eyes widened. Something undefended moved across her face. "Amara, you gave up your company." "Minjin, no." He crossed the distance between them. "Minjin, I gave up pretending I was happy before you." Something shattered inside her expression. Love, raw, terrified, overwhelming, the kind that arrived without invitation and rearranged everything. "Amara, barely? You're insane." "Minjin, probably." "Amara, this relationship ends terribly." "Minjin, maybe." She looked at him for a long moment. The city moved behind them. Then she reached into her jacket and held out a spare helmet. "Amara, get on the bike, pretty boy." "Minjin, where are we going?" Her smile returned slowly. The real one, not the controlled, dangerous one she gave rooms. The one that appeared rarely, briefly, like weather. "Amara, somewhere dangerous." Minjin grinned, the first completely unguarded grin in years. "Minjin, I was hoping you'd say that." He climbed onto the motorcycle behind the most dangerous woman in Seoul, wrapped his arms around her waist. She revved the engine, that deep, aggressive, beautiful sound that had started all of this 3 weeks and 1 lifetime ago, and they disappeared into the neon night together. Exactly where he belonged.